Yaffee program on WVNN.
So I know Dale Jackson during his show asked, who in the media do you trust the most? And a lot of you, of course, said Dale. Fine. It's in his branding. I get it. You were trying to win the prize. I get it. Now, some of you would try to take jabs at me on the text line. By the way, you can weigh in on the text line anytime, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. You would try to take jabs at me, but I know you love me. You were all spelling my name right. And that just tells me you actually love me. So some of these people on the text line that, I take it as sarcasm. You love me. You spelled my name right. I always say, I know I will have made it when people actually spell my name and get it right. And a lot of the texters got it right, even new texters. So, okay, some of you might be trying to make me upset. No, it just all makes me very happy. Well, what can I say? Yaffee. What can I say? All right, you are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Coming up in the show, I do want to give you the latest details out of Iran. Looks like we have stepped up our military efforts to open the Strait of Hormuz. It appears now that Europe wants to help out. And I'm going to tell you exactly why Europe is going to help out. What they were doing, the European leaders, it's pretty obvious to me at least what they were doing. So we'll talk about that. We have the Alabama bullet points as well, the top stories from around the state. And speaking of Alabama news and politics, we'll speak with Brad Presnall. He's a political consultant, works for several candidates and everything else across the state. You know that already. So we'll get to that. Later on in the hour, I have something that made Yaffee laughy. Haven't done that in a while. Some of you think I'm too serious, at least according to the text line. So fine. We have a Yaffee laughy. In the next hour, we'll speak with the legendary Will Hampson. He is the official D.C. insider of the show. We can talk about the government shutdown, at least partial shutdown of Department of Homeland Security. Democrats are doubling down. They are. They want this. They want to keep things shut down. And later on, we'll do what's trending. By the way, producing today is Walker. Once again, Walker, how are you today?
I'm doing good, but I did stay up too late last night playing a game. It's called Rift of the Necrodancer, and it's like Guitar Hero, but with monsters.
What? Okay, but so you have to mimic what they're doing, or how does it work?
So instead of it being the beats coming down the line, it's monsters coming down the line. And
but do you play it with a guitar or like
you just play with a keyboard?
Oh, okay. That sounds weird. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds, but weird can be addicting.
Yes, it can.
So it sounds like you got addicted to it,
especially when music is involved.
Okay, yeah, I used to love Guitar Hero. I haven't played that game in years, but I used to love that. I had a friend of mine who was like an expert at it. I mean, he could do the top level and was just amazing. I was like, oh my gosh. By the way, Walker, do you have the audio ready?
I do.
All right, so I do want to update the latest out of Iran just to give, because, even though some of you don't want to admit it on the text line, you trust me. You trust me to give you the news. What can I say? But apparently, at least according to the Wall Street Journal here, it says U.S. warplanes and helicopters kick off battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So the U.S. and its allies have intensified the battle to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, sending low-flying attack jets over the sea lanes to blast Iranian naval vessels and Apache helicopters to shoot down Iran's deadly drones. That's according to American military officials. Now, the stepped-up operation is part of a multi-stage Pentagon plan to reduce the danger from Iranian armed boats, mines, and cruise missiles, which have halted ship traffic through the waterway since early March. Now, if the danger can be reduced, the U.S. could send U.S. warships through the strait and eventually escort vessels in and out of the Persian Gulf, which would be a big deal. And I keep telling y'all, it's been 3 weeks. So anytime you do any kind of military conflict, there is always the chance that things have to change because something happens on the battlefield. And this is one of those instances. And I know some are talking about Armageddon scenarios, and this is a complete disaster. It's been 3 weeks, and we're reacting to what's going on the battlefield. Most people, though, that are saying that, they didn't support it from the beginning, so it's not too surprising. Now, President Trump visited with some world leaders yesterday, but go ahead and play Trump Cut 1 for me.
No.
If you have a Walker.
Putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
All right, so he's basically saying that, yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle at times, but he thought it was going to be worse. And he also said he has no plans to put ground troops in, which isn't surprising. I would be shocked. Unless it's a limited operation like what was done in Venezuela, where they're in and out, I don't really see any real effort to make an Iraqi-style invasion in Iran. I don't see that. I don't see Trump ever doing that. I'm going to play Trump Cut 2 for me, Walker.
We're defending the strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. We've had tremendous support and relationship with Japan on everything. And I believe that based on statements that were given to us yesterday, the day before yesterday, having to do with Japan, they are really stepping up to the plate.
So he talked about his frustrations with other NATO countries, but then talked about Japan wanting to help. Why were these NATO countries, these European countries, so unwilling to do this? Well, one, it could be that they just think politically it's not good to help in a war against Iran. But I think they were trying, and they're not going to be successful here. They were trying to out-Trump Trump. Because Trump often plays hardball with our allies in Europe to get them to do things. Because presidents have wanted them to do things for years, and they just ignore us. So Trump played a little hardball. So I guess these European leaders thought they could do that with us. Oh, we're going to play hardball with Trump now. The reason why it doesn't really work for Europe, they don't have a lot of leverage. I mean, yeah, we could use their help in the Strait of Hormuz, so that's a little bit of leverage. But the fact is, Europe needs us more than we need them. They need us to help them in the Ukraine war. They need us to help them security as a whole. They need us because of our economy. So the fact is, Europe doesn't have the leverage that we do. It's very difficult to play hardball with the United States of America unless you have real leverage, and maybe they thought for a second they did. I don't think they do. But they thought, okay, Trump does this to us, we'll do it to him. You can't out-Trump Trump. So many people make that mistake. So many people make that mistake. All right, go ahead and play Trump Cut 3 for me, Walker.
We want to have vast amounts of ammunition, which we have right now. We have a lot of ammunition, but it was taken down by giving so much to Ukraine. It's amazing, actually, how good it is. So we want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top. We're asking for a lot of reasons beyond even what we're talking about in Iran.
So what he was talking about there is they are asking for $200 billion extra funding from Congress because of this war and for the United States military. And he explained why that is. I mean, the way Congress is right now, who knows what's going to happen? You still have parts of Department of Homeland Security funded. Now, I want to play a cut here of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, before I do, I just want to point out, yes, this is Benjamin Netanyahu. There are a ton of conspiracy theories out there today that apparently he's not alive, that he was killed in some kind of strike by Iran.
I was going to ask if you knew about that.
Yeah. Were you thinking about putting that what's trending or something,
Well,
Walker?
I guess maybe, but I just generally wanted to know if you had also seen it.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and I just don't understand why Israel would do that. Why they would do that? There's an argument to be made that the death of Netanyahu would help their war effort. I mean, they don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. But that could rally the people of Israel behind the war even more. So the idea that they have to hide, if he was actually killed, that they would have to hide it, it doesn't make any sense to me. They are a democracy. They have a process. They can elect new leaders. There are some in the country that don't like Netanyahu. In Israel, they don't like him. So this whole idea that, I don't know, they're going to pretend he's alive, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And I know AI is getting pretty good. It would have to be really, really good, which I get it. Like, the conspiracy theorists are going to say, well, they have the latest or whatever. But for Benjamin Netanyahu to give a speech yesterday in a press conference yesterday, and for them to fake that, this is what happens now. Anything to deal with Israel, this contingent online is obsessed with trying to make them look like this nefarious bad force in the world. And of course they're hiding it, and it's AI. I just don't buy it. But anyway, I wanted to play a montage here of what Netanyahu said yesterday about the latest with the war. Play the Netanyahu cut for me, Walker.
I want to ask you to imagine how the Ayatollah regime would be able to blackmail the entire world if they had ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. Just imagine what they would do. Look at what they're doing now and imagine what they would do. America is not fighting for Israel. America is fighting with Israel for a common goal, to protect our future, to protect civilization against these barbarians. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations. If it cracks enough, and with some other things that I won't get into, yes, the regime could change. Is it guaranteed? No. And is it up to the Iranian people in the final accounting to make use of the conditions that we're doing in weakening this regime? We'll see. You know what a spike is? It goes up and goes down. The Americans are working very hard, and we're trying to help them in every way that we can, to open the straits of Hormuz. And if they succeed, which I think they will, then oil prices will come down. I'm not going to put a schedule or a stopwatch on it. I think we have goals that have to be achieved, and we're not counting the days. You know, if people want to be naive, then they don't see the kind of world we're living in. In this world, it's not enough to be moral. It's not enough to be just. It's not enough to be right.
So there you go. Apparently that was AI, according to some of the conspiracy theorists. That would be a great AI. But some people are still weighing in right now saying it's AI. You can weigh in as well on the text line, the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. Going to move on to Alabama news in the next segment with the bullet points. This is the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Every day, excessive delays and denials from big insurers keep patients from accessing the care they need. And when care is urgent, these delays can be disastrous. These practices cost billions in wasteful spending, driving up costs for American families. But while big insurers put up barriers, America's hospitals and health systems are in your corner, navigating endless reviews and appeals to get you the care you need when you need it most. It's time to curb these harmful practices and put the focus back on patients. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
We're back here on the Yaffee program. Man, I just got some sad news. I just saw the breaking news here. Apparently Chuck Norris has died. Yeah, I just got that from Fox News. It says iconic actor and martial artist Chuck Norris died on Thursday morning, according to a family statement posted on his Instagram account on Friday. It says, with heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know he was surrounded by his family and was at peace.
Not Walker,
Wow.
Texas Ranger.
Yeah, Walker, Texas Ranger and everything else. And golly, you know, he has the image of being so tough, and I had forgotten he was 86. But yeah, that's sad. That's sad news. So if I have more details on that, I'll let you know. But that just came in. That's breaking within the last couple of minutes here. So, geez, tragic news there. All right, let's get to the Alabama headlines. We have those Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Sponsored by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Alabama delegation leads the U.S. House floor tribute for airmen killed in Iraq. So Alabama's full congressional delegation, led by Representative Mike Rogers out of Sacs, who is chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, joined with Ohio representatives on the U.S. House floor to pay tribute to 6 crew members who were killed in a crash over western Iraq on March 12th. This was all while supporting Operation Epic Fury. The bipartisan group observed a moment of silence and honored the fallen, specifically highlighting 3 Alabama-based airmen from Birmingham's 99th Air Refueling Squadron. Rogers addressed the House, stating prayers for the families and recognizing their sacrifice in this mission. Now, the tribute followed the dignified transfer of remains at Dover Air Force Base, where Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville were there. Number 3 today, Democrats delay Senate votes on Gulf of America, 10 Commandments, school displays, and post-election audit bills in the Alabama Senate. So the Alabama Senate Democrats, led by Minority Leader Bobby Singleton, used filibusters, they like to do this, and extended delays to block votes on 3 Republican-sponsored bills during this session. These included legislation to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, a measure requiring displays of the 10 Commandments in public schools, and a bill mandating post-election audits. Now, after hours of obstruction, Senate Pro Tem Garland Gudger adjourned the chamber to secure a quorum and regain control, with pleas to revisit the bills after spring break on March 31st and April 1st. Singleton reportedly threatened to burn the House down through a prolonged debate. So, of course he did. Ridiculous. Number 2 today, Alabama Republican Party leaders praised the House passage of the closed primary bill. The Alabama House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act, and now this is the Alabama version. They're calling it the SAVE Act in the legislature. It was by a 63-35 vote, making a significant victory for Alabama Republican Party. Now, the bill, if you want to know, sponsored by Representative Ernie Yarbrough, requires voters to register with a political party to participate in the party's partisan primaries, effectively closing Alabama's open primaries to prevent crossover voting by non-members. Alabama GOP Chairman Scott Stadhagen praised the passage, noting that Republicans had been requesting this change for over a decade to protect primary integrity, citing documented instances of Democrats voting in Republican primaries as unfair and unhealthy for both parties. So the legislation heads to the Senate, sponsored by Sam Gavan, but I don't know what the chances are of it passing this session. Number 1, Senator Tommy Tuberville says former National Counterterrorism Center director, the alleged leaker Joe Kent, he says, well, he was a member of the deep state. So U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville accused Joe Kent, the former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, who recently resigned. He said, well, he's a member of the deep state. This is during a press call yesterday. Tuberville claimed Ken had been excluded from confidential intelligence briefings for months because he failed to meet expectations, did not support President Trump, and clashed with the Trump administration officials, the Joint Chiefs, and military leaders. He described Kent as indoctrinated into thinking that anything President Trump does is wrong and unfit for federal service, insisting that appointees must be on the team with Trump and warfighters. The comments followed Kent's resignation and his public assertion that Israel had intentionally pushed the U.S. into a war with Iran through a misinformation campaign. Tuberville labeled the situation as part of the deep state and tied it to allegation of Kent's being a leaker. I mean, he was a political opportunist. That's what Kent is. He is more of the Tucker Carlson type, and he thinks this will help him in some way, either in media or when he runs for office or something. By the way, this segment of the program, as you know, brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pond. Go to the Madison location today off Greenbrier Exit 3 by the Big Rusty Water Tower. So much to shop for, including the latest in jewelry. Huge selection, best customer service. They can resize it for you. You can put it on layaway, and no other jewelry store offers that. Not even close. Best prices as well. Go to pistolandpond.com. Tell them Yaffee sent you.
The Yaffee Program.
Every day, excessive delays and denials from big insurers keep patients from accessing the care they need. And when care is urgent, these delays can be disastrous. These practices cost billions in wasteful spending, driving up costs for American families. But while big insurers put up barriers, America's hospitals and health systems are in your corner, navigating endless reviews and appeals to get you the care you need when you need it most. It's time to curb these harmful practices and put the focus back on patients. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
The NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, is coming to Pittsburgh, and it's your chance to witness the future of the game for free from April 23rd to April 25th. Feel the energy of the NFL Draft. See the Vince Lombardi Trophy and Super Bowl rings. Meet NFL players and legends. Enjoy interactive games and live music performances, and be there as the future of the NFL takes center stage. The NFL Draft starts April 23rd. Register for free entry at nfl.com/draft access today.
We are back here on the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Friday edition of the show to the weekend. So I'm glad you have joined us today before the weekend. Always joining us on Fridays, by the way, is Brad Presnall. He's a political consultant, does work for Senator Tommy Tuberville, running for governor, Congressman Dale Strong, also the AEA, also for Senate candidate Rodney Walker, also for State Auditor Andrew Sorrell, and others. Lots of people. Brad, how are you today?
Doing well, Yaffee. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into some Alabama news, I just saw the breaking news. I updated it a couple minutes ago. Chuck Norris apparently has died, age 86. It was reported yesterday he was in the hospital in Hawaii. Don't really know the details of the cause of death. But you actually, did you get to meet him? Because you were working for the Mike Huckabee campaign years ago. And you said you had a funny story about him as you were thinking about him.
Right, Yaffee. When I emailed you that yesterday, Mr. Norris was just in the hospital. We didn't know it was as grave as it is. And I heard a minute ago when you gave the news that he passed away. So I'm so sorry to hear that. He was a great conservative and an icon. But, yeah, I do have a funny story. I was working on the first of two Huckabee for President campaigns, and this was the summer of 2007. One day I'm at my desk in Little Rock, and the receptionist buzzed me, and she said, "Hey, Brad, can you take this call?" And I said, "Sure, who is it and what's it about?" And she said, "You won't believe me, just take the call." So I thought it was strange, but I took the call, and I said, "Hello, this is Brad. Can I help you?" "Brad, this is Chuck Norris." So I immediately hung up. Now, you have to know that Governor Huckabee is notorious for practical jokes. I can't tell you how many times when I worked in the governor's office that he was in the middle of some kind of practical joke. And so I just hung up. I guess I rolled my eyes or something and went back to work. So like 30 seconds later, my phone rings again. I answered, and he said, "Brad, this is Chuck Norris." And Yaffee, the way he said his name the second time, I knew it was him. I think I swallowed my gum or something, and I said, "Yes, Mr. Norris, how can I help you?" So Chuck starts to tell me that he really liked what Governor Huckabee was saying on the campaign trail, and he would like to meet him, possibly endorse him, and could I set that up? So obviously I said I could, and I would relay the message to the governor. Yaffee, not only did Chuck Norris help, he traveled with Governor Huckabee for free. many times on the bus all over the country. He did a commercial for the campaign called Chuck Norris Approved,
I
which was
remember
a
that.
funny commercial. Yeah, and if your listeners want to Google that, it's really a funny commercial, which one of the lines the governor says while sitting next to Chuck was, when Chuck Norris does a push-up, he isn't lifting himself up. He's pushing the earth down. So it was that kind of a commercial. You know, Chuck was such a joy to be around, and he had so many stories of his career to share, and I will definitely miss him, and I'm so sorry to hear the news.
Yeah, really tragic. From everything I've heard, he was a really nice guy. You're right, a very strong conservative as well. And it's funny. So when you swallowed your gum, you're a little scared because you don't want to make Chuck Norris mad. You know, you don't want to hang up on him, of all people.
And the first time I met him, Yaffee, I was really surprised at how small he was. You know, we watched him in all the movies, you know, that he did. He fought Bruce Lee and, of course, Walker, Texas Ranger. But he was short. He was small. But, of course, he was full of energy and full of fight. But he was a small man, but a big man in character, definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. Speaking with Brad Presnall, all right, let's get to some Alabama news. We have Senator Tommy Tuberville running for governor, and he had some comments about the Iran war, but also this guy, Joe Kent, who apparently resigned. He's being accused of being a leaker. He bashed Trump, said the war's all Israel's fault, and Tuberville said, nah, he's a part of the deep state. Talking about Joe Kent. So what do you think about all this?
I think what Senator Tuberville said about Joe Kent's resignation was 100% correct when the senator said that there's a lot more to this story than we think or are privy to knowing. You know, Yaffee, it's easy for people to sit back and Monday morning quarterback on all issues, whether they are local, state, in this case, federal. And unless we are in those meetings, our thought process is always based in theory and many times propaganda, and it's hard to wade through all the noise. But I trust Senator Tuberville and what he knows and his leadership on this. And if he says there's a lot more to this story, then that's what I'm going to believe.
Okay, I mean, do you think, too, outside of that there's more to this story? I mean, do you think this is the right thing to do? If you disagree with the administration, it's one thing to resign, right? But then to put out in a letter that's just bashing Trump and saying all the other stuff's kind of messed up.
It's kind of like quitting working at a ice cream shop and putting your feet in the soft serve when you're walking out the door. That's what it's like. It's like ruining the ice cream machine for everybody else.
That was oddly specific. Did you do that once, Brad? Did you work at an ice cream shop? Did you get a little upset?
No, I remembered in a Seinfeld episode when George Costanza did that, so that just came to mind.
That's right.
But that's true.
That.
I mean, when you leave a job, you should try your best to leave with class. And I don't begrudge Mr. Kent for resigning if that's what he believes or was led to believe or whatever. Again, we don't know all the information. We can just go on what the Trump administration and Mr. Kent himself is saying. So if you want to resign because you disagree with the president, I think that's noble to resign because you all should be pulling on the same rope and on the same team. But when you're going out the door, inflicting damage like that's pretty much classless.
Speaking of Tuberville, you know, he's running for governor, probably going to win in a big landslide.
I hadn't heard he's running for governor yet.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, at this point, you might as well just call him governor-elect. I think Dale Jackson actually does that. But he's been meeting with some Alabama lawmakers. And Speaker of the House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, said he's going to be kind of the state's recruiter, that him being in charge is going to recruit a lot more business, industry, whatever we need in the state. What do you think about that?
I agree with the speaker. I think we're going to see the senator be number one recruiter for the state, but I'll just go further than that. I think he's going to be our number one cheerleader. And without throwing shade on Governor Ivey, I think we're going to see a governor who's going to be very active, full of energy. It's going to be going around, going to be doing all sorts of interviews and promoting Alabama, what a great place it is here and what great people we have. And I think you're going to see him everywhere and anywhere that'll put a microphone in front of his face where he can cheerlead for the state of Alabama. And, you know, I get sick and tired hearing on Fox News when they talk about great Republican states, and they always mention Texas and Florida. They never mention Alabama. And one of the reasons they never mention Alabama is because we don't have any kind of a footprint on national media other than our two United States senators who are on Fox quite often. Our governor is pretty much MIA on that kind of stuff. That's just not her deal, where she does a bunch of interviews or hardly any interviews. And I think the senator is going to be our number one cheerleader, and that's going to equate to more jobs, better jobs, and more industry coming to Alabama.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent point. That is my biggest criticism of Kay Ivey. I probably agree with her on most things, but she has not been an energetic leader. She is not someone who is really pushing the agenda forward in many cases. Now, when she does, it can be effective. Like, she can get stuff done. But you're right, she's mostly kind of behind the scenes. And in all fairness, I guess that's one reason she was elected. At the time, she was more elected to be a steady hand, not necessarily an energetic leader. But it will be a nice change of pace when Tuberville gets in there, and it's just a more energetic administration, and we'll see a lot of conservative stuff done, and we'll get some attention for the state. So, I mean, I think you're right on that.
And you said many times that you always felt that she was a follower and not a leader, that she'll latch onto an issue after somebody else does, and then she'll use her power to get it done in Alabama many times. So that's right.
So outside of that, we have some more Alabama news to talk about as well. I'm speaking with Brad Presnell. He is a political consultant. So our local news update here on the show, they've been talking about the fact that Jimmy Bracey, who was a University of Alabama student, was found dead in Spain during a spring break trip, I believe. And I know you had some comments on that.
Absolutely, Yaffee. I know this is a tough blow for his family, as well as all his friends at the University of Alabama. And hopefully a thorough investigation will show if this was indeed an accident or if there was criminal intent. But as of the latest I saw last night, authorities don't believe a crime was committed. So let's just kind of wait on that and see what actually plays out. But, I was thinking about this too, Yaffee. I know that anything can happen to young people, no matter what country they are visiting or if they are here in America. But it seems like we are seeing more and more every day that college-age young people are disappearing or ending up dead in a foreign country when they've just gone over there for vacation or spring break or whatever. We all remember the Natalie Holloway case, the disappearance that she had many years ago, which was the Jordan Vandersloot case. And this really hits close to home for Alabamians when we hear tragedies like this.
I got to say, as someone who has very young kids, so they're not going to be traveling overseas anytime soon. I mean, it does make me a little scared for the future. That if they wanted to do that, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know, because it can be kind of dangerous. Real quick, Brad, I do want to ask you, the Alabama House passed a bill to close the primaries in Alabama, make it even stricter, I guess, so you can't just change parties at the last minute and vote in a different party. What do you think about that?
Well, I can see both sides of the issue. I understand why some in the party want to purify their party and close it down, but also the other side is like when you do that, you're basically telling a lot of independents that they need to decide whether to be a Republican or Democrat, and a lot of people are just independent-minded. They may vote for a local person who is a Democrat. Maybe they've known them for years and years, and they'll say, well, you know what, I'll just register as a Democrat because I'd rather vote for my friend who maybe is a sheriff or a coroner, who knows. But the argument against it is you're closing off a lot of people, and in a lot of these blue districts, that can make the difference. I saw that Representative Chris Pringle was talking about Gary Palmer in the 6th District of Alabama Congressional District that's turning purple. And also some people here in North Alabama are in some purple districts, and they believe that will affect them. So I think this is a big decision, and it doesn't need to be made quickly. I think people need to really decide which way they want to go, because once it happens, if they pass it, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the Gary Palmer seat as you are. You're right. The genie would be out of the bottle, but I tend to support it because I mean, the fact is, the party has to mean something. If you are not a Republican, then you shouldn't tell people what the Republican Party is doing. I get that's kind of how I think of it. That's kind of how I see it.
Well, when you have the party giving litmus tests to people who want to run as a Republican, and they basically keep them off the ballot, that's taking away people's vote and chance to vote. And so the Democrats imploded on this issue in the late 1990s, and it looks like the Republicans are wanting to do the same thing.
Brad Presnell is a political consultant. Does work for like everyone. I'm just going to say that. You have a lot of clients, Brad, but I appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you again in the future.
Thank you, Yaffee.
All right, there you go. We'll be back in a moment here on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
We're back on the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Coming up in the next segment, we'll speak with the legendary Will Hampson. He's the official DC insider of the show, often my fill-in host as well. I don't know where he's traveling today. I feel like the guy is always traveling. But, when you're a DC insider, I guess that's part of the job. Right now, though, haven't done one of these in a little bit, but apparently some of you on the text line, you think I'm too serious. Just why so serious, Yaffee? So fine, we'll do what we haven't done in a while. It's time for something that made Yaffee laughy. Now, the first thing I saw was actually from the Babylon Bee. This is not the main thing, but I did see today. There was a post by the Babylon Bee where it said, Tucker Carlson loses Wheel of Fortune after guessing everything is Israel. I thought that was pretty good. The guy annoys me. Anyway, speaking of the war in Iran, though, I had a friend of mine send me this little bit because if you're like in Iran and someone's like, hey, will you be the next Ayatollah? Would you want to take that job? Probably. If you want to live, probably not. I thought this bit was pretty funny about this. Go ahead, Walker, if you can. Play the next Ayatollah cut that I sent you.
No one wants to be next Ayatollah. So tired of bombs and living in a hole. We support whoever it might be, as long as it's them and not me. I'm not qualified, so go away. Turn off that phone or we will die today. No one wants to be next Ayatollah. Me not qualified, that's what I told ya. Ayatollah title good for resume, but not so if I must die today. You want someone to lead you with class. The day of new Ayatollah, your ass is grass, and Trump will be lawnmower. No one wants to be next Ayatollah. Does anyone want to be the next Ayatollah? No, you're not listening. Hell no! We don't to be stupid one.
All right, there you go. I thought that was pretty good. Maybe I'll have to play that again later on in the show, because I did like that. So speaking of the latest in Iran, well, first, even before I get to that, there is one thing I do want to talk about. When it comes to, say, Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or even Megyn Kelly at this point, there are other big-time influencers, even in Alabama, that have really been pushing this anti-Israel narrative where everything is Israel's fault. And it's basically an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about everything. Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was one of the biggest criticisms I had of her. Everything was somehow the fault of Israel. You could be talking about healthcare in the United States, and somehow that's Israel's fault, that we have problems with healthcare in the United States. And, I don't talk about it too much, the problems with them, because I don't want to give them too much attention. There is an issue where we can kind of give them too much attention and it just inflates their numbers. But I got to say, this is going to continue to be a problem in the conservative movements for the next couple of years, I think. For some reason, there are still a whole lot of people out there that are taking Tucker Carlson and the like seriously. And I don't get it. It's incredibly dangerous stuff that they're pushing. It is beyond just stupid. It's dangerous. Because it's anti-Semitic, and it's going to ruin the credibility of our movement, I think. It's already happening. It is creating division, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. The good news is, even though a lot of these people say they were big-time MAGA Trump types, they're actually not. Trump was not this. He has never been this, even though they tried to make it seem like he was. So that was something I just wanted to mention. I'll probably bring some of that up even more because, unfortunately, they get too much attention.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN. The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Second hour now of the Yaffee Program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. I am Alabama's voice of reason. For some reason, some of you say you trust Dale Jackson over me. I don't know why. Whatever. You know you need me, and you know I'm your voice of reason. And I know you like me because you spell my name right. Even when you insult me on the text line, you actually get the name right. What can I say? So I'm glad you have joined the show today. And it is Friday. Joining me right now is the legendary Will Hampson. He's the official DC insider of the show. Will, how are you today, sir?
Yaffee, doing great. Hoping people will spell my name right when they angrily text in soon.
Yeah, okay. We have a lot to talk about. One thing I did want to ask you about, I understand there is going to be a vote on the Save America Act in Congress, in the Senate, this voter ID bill. There had been some push to maybe force a talking filibuster or just get rid of the filibuster to get this done. Senator Mike Lee, along with Tuberville, Katie Britt, others really want to do it that way. But what do you think? It seems like they don't have the votes to get rid of the filibuster. Am I wrong on that?
I mean, Yaffee, I think we've always have understood that the votes have not fully been there on the Save America Act, but I think it's still a good thing to be able to put a lot of these senators on the record. And look, this is going to be a big deal in places like Georgia, in places like North Carolina, in places like Michigan, where there's been voter fraud exposed. This is a big deal. And so putting some of these Democrats on the record as to whether they want to support voter ID, even if it fails, the whole strategy has always been we need to get these guys on the record. And so I think this is a really good step towards that.
Well, here's the thing, though. Okay, so you get them on the record. It'll be mostly Republicans on the record. But, I mean, do you get them on the record to blow up the filibuster, too? I mean, is that something that should be done? Because that seems to be the issue, where even some of these senators who support the Save America Act, some Republican ones, they might not support changing the filibuster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we understand that Chuck Schumer is going to eliminate the filibuster the second he can. I think his base will force him to on a number of issues. There's going to be a Green New Deal vote. All of these things, once Democrats do inevitably take back the Senate, I think Republicans need to decide what's important to them and if they want to get it accomplished. And so I don't personally see anything more important that Republicans could be doing than safeguarding our elections. And so with all that being said, knowing Chuck Schumer is going to get rid of the filibuster, I don't see what the hesitation is. The president has come out and said we need to do this. A lot of the great conservative Republicans in the Senate, the Rick Scott types have come out and said that we need to do this. I think it's pretty well understood that the filibuster is going to be eliminated when Democrats take power. Why not do it now and get this done?
Yeah, and you have, I mean, I'm guessing a Mitch McConnell a Lisa Murkowski, a Susan Collins, they're kind of the ones that wouldn't want to get rid of it. I mean, I have to admit, I'm still a little reluctant to want to get rid of it. But the reality is the senators I just mentioned, they're probably not going to vote to get rid of it.
No, I don't disagree, Yaffee, but you've also got the John Cornyn's, who right now there's some leverage to get him to support eliminating the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act. Republicans have a little bit of leverage right now. And so if there were going to be a time, Susan Collins is up for a tough reelection. She would have to decide what she was going to do. Obviously, we know Mitch McConnell's going to fight the president on everything. We know that Lisa Murkowski is going to fight the president on everything. We know that Tom Tillis going out the door is going to fight the president on everything. But I still think that Republicans have some leverage now that they may not have even in a couple weeks here. I don't think John Cornyn would be inclined to support eliminating the filibuster unless it happens now while a Trump endorsement in his race is still up in the air. So if it were to happen, if it were to be successful, I think it would be now. But to your point, Yaffee, I think there are just too many of those Republicans in the Mitch McConnell ilk that would just not be willing to do this.
Speaking with the legendary Will Hampson, he's the official D.C. insider of the show. So it seems that Democrats are doubling down when it comes to defunding or keeping unfunded the Department of Homeland Security, even with security threats, even with what's going on at airports. Now, they did put forward something that would fund TSA but would not fund Border Patrol, which they have to know is like a non-starter. But is this really something that they believe will help them in the midterms so much that they're willing to put a little bit of pain on the American people because they think even with the pain, the voters will blame Republicans? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things, Yaffee, where it seems like when Democrats shut down the government, people blame Republicans, and when Republicans shut down the government, people blame Republicans. It seems like that's what you see here. If there is going to be any heat, and I think what Democrats are going to do is they're going to wait through the weekend. Travel is unbelievable right now, Yaffee. I mean, I know that you and many of your listeners have seen the lines at TSA in places like Atlanta, like Houston. It's getting pretty bad. And so I think rank and file, average, Joe and Jane citizen, as Mo Brooks would say, they are going to blame somebody here shortly. The question is who. And I think what Democrats firmly believe is that voters are going to blame Donald Trump and they're going to blame Republicans because that's usually what they do. And so it will be interesting to see as this goes on through the weekend. People are going to be pretty peeved. I mean, this is pretty brutal. And I saw something that potentially 1 out of every 2 TSA agents may call out of work at the Atlanta airport starting, I don't remember if it was either this weekend or early next week. That's pretty incredible, Yaffee. If 50% of TSA agents are not going to work because of the shutdown, that's going to have serious impacts on travel across the country, and that's just one airport. So if you continue to see this, voters are going to blame somebody. The question is, do they blame the Democrats who continue to vote against opening the government, DHS, or do they blame Republicans?
Sounds like you're a little unsure about that, like who they're going to blame.
Yeah, I mean, you would think they would blame the Democrats who continue to vote against reopening DHS, but that just doesn't seem to be the case. Republicans usually take the brunt of these things, Yaffee. And I wish that some Republicans, again, like if I were a Republican in Georgia and I were running for the Senate, I'd be standing in that line, filming videos of pissed off people, asking them, "Did you know that John Ossoff just voted to keep DHS shut down?" I mean, I don't know why we're not forcing the issue more. I mean, it's really amazing. Like you saw John Cornyn go and, he brought donuts to TSA agents and he got counter-protested by some Democrats in Texas who stole all of the airtime from him. I mean, Democrats are just better at this, frankly, Yaffee. And so I don't know why more Republicans aren't out there kind of blowing the whistle saying, hey, guys, this is John Ossoff's fault if you're in Georgia, or this is Cooper's fault if you're in North Carolina. I don't know why more Republicans are not out there pointing out that this is Democrats' fault because they refuse to open DHS.
That's a good point. A lot of it is messaging. A lot of it is going out there and making the point. And you're right. Sending donuts to TSA agents is not good enough. By the way, on this note, I think we should privatize a lot of airport security. I think this is just another reason to do it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's some merit to that, Yaffee. I think that streamlining the process. But at the end of the day, I think most people are kind of okay with the job that TSA does when they're there, when they're working. And I think that seeing these lines and seeing how some of this is operating across the country will give us a greater appreciation for some of those TSA agents and the job that they do. I think, when you're looking at in Atlanta is a perfect example, Yaffee, right? A lot of people in Huntsville fly through Atlanta pretty regularly. It's the busiest airport in the country. It's a pretty big deal that all of those, the trains, so to say, are running on time. And for the most part, they are. It's an incredibly efficient airport. They do a really good job. They keep us pretty safe. And so it's certainly given me a greater appreciation, I think, for what a lot of those TSA agents do.
Speaking with the legendary Will Hampson, he's the official D.C. insider of the show. Do want to ask you as well, this is more on a state level. You have in Tennessee and Alabama efforts to close primaries. And they get some traction, but they never seem to make it through the finish line. So the example would be in Alabama where you would have, it would basically block you from switching parties for 60 days. There's a similar effort to pass a bill in Tennessee. And there's already a freak out by some Republicans when it comes to closed primaries. What do you think about it? To me, I mean, I understand some of the concern, but to me, it's like the Republican Party, what the Republican Party does should be up to Republicans. I mean, it doesn't seem that complicated, but what do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree, Yaffee. I think that the problem here is that open primaries, generally speaking, help out more liberal Republicans. You will get crossover where a lot of Democrats will say, my vote really doesn't matter in my own primary, so I'm going to cross over and vote for the most liberal option that's running with an R next to their name. And we see it all the time in the state of Alabama. And look, leadership in the Republican caucus has even come out and said, if we close primaries, some of our current members will lose. So that's why you see it, right? And this is the interesting thing about this discussion here. We've obviously been having this in regards to Speaker Ledbetter. They believe, and probably rightfully so, that their job is to protect their own incumbents. Their job is not, and that's where the I don't give a you-know-what about the Republican Party comes from. It's not that, Speaker Ledbetter doesn't believe in the Republican Party. It's that he believes his primary function is protecting his current members, protecting incumbents. And I think the question begs, if you're not doing a good job, why do you need to continue to protect these guys? And so, again, you look at it, and I think the average rank-and-file Republican goes, no, this helps conservatives. It helps grassroots candidates. It ensures that only Republicans are voting, which means we will get more conservative candidates. And if that scares the establishment incumbent class, then I'm sorry. But I think the backlash you're seeing is exactly why this is necessary.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. The legendary Will Hampson, the official D.C. insider of the show. Appreciate you coming on as always, Will. We'll talk to you again in the future.
Yaffee, congratulations as well on baby number 2. Happy for you and Steffi, and we will talk to you soon.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
back to the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you've joined the show today. You know, Dale was the one who told me earlier on that apparently John Fetterman, who is the Democrat out of Pennsylvania, is underwater among Democrats by like 40 points or something. And you know, I've been asking for a while, how long does he survive in the Democrat Party? Because it seems like he's way too reasonable, way too reasonable to be involved in the modern Democrat Party. Now, maybe he can run as an independent and still win. I actually think that's possible. It's happened before in other states. So let's say he loses the Democrat primary. Well, he runs as an independent and has a chance, maybe. Not 100% sure on that. But it's kind of funny because, as you know, he's been a big supporter of the war in Iran right now. He's a big supporter of Israel. And a lot of what he is saying should not be counter to the Democrat Party. It really shouldn't. He votes against government shutdowns. He supports Israel. And he says, you know, let's cool it down with the Trump derangement syndrome. It's actually, if the Democrat Party were smart, they would just listen to him. But they're not. So I happen to find this guy. John Fetterman was asked in a recent interview, you know, he was like, who is the leader of the Democrat Party? And I thought his answer was pretty fascinating here. So go ahead if you can, Walker. Play the John Fetterman cut I sent you.
I think leads the Democratic Party today?
Oh, we don't have one. I think the TDS, I think that's the leader right now. You know, right now our party is governed by the TDS, and now it's made it virtually impossible without being punished as a Democrat to agree something's good, or I agree with the other side. And I would define that by epic fury. I am literally the only Democrat in America in Congress that I've come across that's saying, I think it's a great thing to break and destroy the Iranian regime. I think it's entirely appropriate to hold them accountable. And what's strange to me that every single Democrat that's run for president and anyone that I know in Congress says we must never allow them to acquire a nuclear bomb. When that happens, why not celebrate that or acknowledge that? I have only witnessed just criticism and this kinds of attack. Like, yeah, you don't have to agree on every single thing, but when a good thing happens, just because it comes from the different party, that tells me that you're choosing the demand of the base or the party over country or what's really, I think, appropriate in that circumstances.
So there are a couple of different ways to look at this. John Fetterman there says that the Democrat Party is being led by TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And I think there's some truth to that. And he says, look, we should be able to be a party where if the other side does something we agree with, maybe we just agree with it. Not be against everything because it's from the opposite party and because Trump did it. And he gave the example of Operation Epic Fury. Another example would be taking out Maduro, bringing him to the U.S. And the opposite party just they can't acknowledge any type of victory there. But, you know, I don't even know if it's just Trump derangement syndrome. I say it a lot, too. I say it's Trump derangement syndrome. But, you know, I think it's beyond that. The fact is that the Democrat Party, the base of the party, has been overtaken by the socialist left, the Marxist left. And when you have those beliefs, you're never going to support you're not going to support protecting the border. If you want to radically transform the country from the inside out, you're not going to support protecting the border. You're not going to support our national security abroad. So it's not just Trump derangement syndrome. When Trump is gone, they are going to still not support these things because they have a completely different worldview that doesn't support the country. So in a way, I agree with them. But in a way, saying it's just Trump derangement syndrome, maybe it gives them too much credit. Maybe. Now, as I mentioned before, the government shutdown, at least the the not funding of Department of Homeland Security continues. Go ahead, if you can, real quick, Walker. Play the Hakeem Jeffries cut. This is the Democrat minority leader in Congress doubling down on this.
There is no reason why the parts of the Department of Homeland Security that have been shut down by Republicans several weeks ago remain shuttered. They're focused on unleashing ICE brutality, enacting massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors, and spending billions of dollars to drop bombs in the Middle East. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people in the midst of an affordability crisis where life has become more expensive for everyday Americans because of failed Republican policies.
I don't know how he is. I know you've heard me say this before. How in the world does he have any credibility saying that? The inflation was caused under Biden, Bidenflation. To say it's because of failed Republican policies is completely absurd. But he said there's no reason for them to be defunded, for TSA agents to not be paid. He's right about that. There is no reason. Literally, Democrats voted and supported this before they went against it. It's on them. But they got the media, the propaganda press on their side, so they think they can get away with it, and maybe they can. What's trending is next. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Welcome back to the Yaffee Program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Good to be back. As you know, I was out most of the week, part of last week as well, because Isaiah James Yaffee was born, and it was quite a process. They kept canceling appointments on us and everything, but everything is good now, and it's glad to be back. I'm glad to be here, even though little sleep deprived, as you can imagine. Why? Anyway, let's lighten things up once again because Walker is here. Let's do it. We have What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market. Best furniture store in the world, honestly. And we have a new addition to the Yaffee family, as I just mentioned, Isaiah. And, he's already finding out how comfortable our furniture is. So obviously we'll carry him. He'll be sitting on my lap. I'll be holding him. But I'm holding him while sitting on the Lazy Boy recliner. We could even rock him a little bit. He likes that. And as he gets older, he's going to find out just how great Coleman Furniture Market is, because most of the furniture in my house is from Coleman Furniture Market. One of the reasons is they have the best furniture, but also the best prices. They have special financing options as well. So if you want to find out more information, go to the website, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. You can see the latest stuff. They get new stuff in all the time. So like their Facebook page, follow them on Instagram as well, Coleman Furniture Market, or go to the website. You can order stuff from the website too, ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. When you do, they always have the latest trending in furniture. So when you do and buy some, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
Number 5 today, WD-40 made a post on Facebook with a clip from King of the Hill where I can't think of his name, but the main character is trying to...
Hank? It's Hank,
Hank.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with names. He's trying to open a can of WD-40, but he can't, so he gets a smaller can of WD-40 and sprays the lid to get it open. And
that's funny.
They're saying that there's an upcoming collab in summer of 2026, and for everyone to tell their dad. And
a collab?
And you may not be my dad, but I'm telling you.
I am a dad, so I guess I have to know. I have to know this important information.
Absolutely. And
WD-40.
Everyone in the comments is like, I tell you what.
That was good. That was good.
Thank you.
Good impression. That is such a dad move, too. to get a smaller can of WD-40.
Absolutely.
To have that ready. I've realized owning a home, WD-40 comes in handy. I have to admit. All right, what's number 4?
Number 4 today, Fortnite is letting people drive the battle bus that typically just drives a straight line over the area where the battle is going to happen. But now a player will be randomly selected and they can steer the bus in any direction that they want.
So I'm looking at a story on this that you sent me. I don't know what a battle bus is. I know what Fortnite is. I've never played it in my life. And so I was like, oh, what's happening here? So it at least has a picture of the battle bus. So explain this to me. Have you ever played Fortnite, Walker?
I've never played Fortnite.
Okay.
But
I was like, can you explain this to someone who's never played it before?
So it just says that at the beginning of each match, the bus drives a straight line over the map, dropping off players as it goes, so they're spread out. And it's saying that
okay.
Yeah. It's usually a pre-plotted course, but now whoever's selected can make it go whatever direction they want to be eventually dropped off where they want to be.
All right, so there probably are some Fortnite players in the audience. I don't know if there are a whole lot, but maybe that's a big deal to you. I have no idea. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 today, there was an interview with someone known as Clavicular online. And
I feel like I've heard of that before. Heard of this person, but go ahead.
And he does something called looks maxing, where he thinks people should be doing with like maxing out their appearance in, I guess, whatever way that they consider to be the most attractive.
So I'm looking at the quote he said. He says, so when you wake up every single morning and you take a look in the mirror, you're 100% satisfied with every single thing. Is that what you're talking about? Yes, more or less. He said, okay.
Yeah. And
so be proud of how you look, I guess, or try.
Yeah. The guy that said, yeah, more or less is the person interviewing him. And this guy got upset that he, I guess, was satisfied with how he looked because he thinks that it can always be better.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was like, you're not being genuine, and stormed out of the interview.
What a weird thing to be upset about.
Yeah. Right. And like, he was the one being interviewed.
Okay.
So
all right.
He wasn't being asked good enough questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. What's are we at number 2?
We are at number 2.
Yeah. What's number 2?
So apparently Temu has meat that they sell now.
Meat?
Yes.
That you eat?
Yes, that you eat.
On Temu, the Chinese
on Temu
website.
They have groceries now, in a way.
How?
I don't know. I'm assuming that they would have to send it in some sort of like cold packaging.
I mean, it's still coming from China, right?
I guess.
Okay. Wow. I don't. Temu has become a joke in recent years too, where it's like it's the cheap version of something. So I can't imagine someone be like, "Hey, you want some Temu meat?"
Yeah.
They
Okay.
were like, "Yeah, I will take that."
It says the meat comes from a third-party seller on Temu called Grumpy Butcher from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so it's still from the U.S. So
Yes.
That's something.
However, the people who wrote this article and tried the steaks said that they were awful. And they also got hamburgers and like Wagyu beef, and that those were okay.
I just can't imagine anyone wanting to get meat on Temu. Like that is not, you go to Temu to get cheap stuff.
Yes.
I mean, that is why you go. If you want some clothes, you're like, I don't care how cheap it is.
Yeah, I feel
But
like
who does that for food? I just want to go and get some cheap meat. So I'm going to get Temu meat. Temu beef.
Yeah, there's so many times I see people who will order stuff off of Temu and then end up disappointed with the product. And I'm like, you guys set your expectations so low to get anything off of there.
Well, exactly. I mean, you have to. You cannot have high expectations if you're buying stuff on Temu. I just can't. I mean, literally, it has become a joke, a meme of itself in because it's all cheap stuff that's not great.
Yeah, they said that the flavor was specifically iron forward, aggressively metallic.
Oh, I don't even know if you. I would be scared to try it. I'm not even just talking about like, oh, I don't like how it tastes. What is in it? Wow. I can't believe people actually get that. All right, what's number one?
Number one today, the Metaverse is shutting down their Horizon World VR
Horizon World?
Horizon Worlds. It's like a VR chat world.
Oh, okay.
And they said that they are removing it from the Quest store by the end of March, and then VR on June 15th. And after that, it will only be available as a mobile app. So that they are...
A lot of people use that?
Apparently.
Oh.
They said that they are separating the two platforms so each can grow with greater focus.
Okay. I feel like the metaverse has been one of the most disappointing things in my life. Well, not in my life, but I mean in pop culture. Like, it was hyped up so much, and I don't think I know a single person who does anything in the metaverse.
I don't know anyone who does either. I just remembered thinking that the commercials for it looked cool.
Oh, with the VR stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I did have one friend who got into some of the VR stuff. I don't know. I mean, it was when the metaverse was first like becoming a thing and first announced. It was hyped up to be like this giant thing, kind of like the Segway was, you know. And then I just feel like I really, maybe I'm just old and out of touch. I don't know anyone who does anything on the metaverse. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, yeah, I'm messing with the metaverse. I don't. Text in if you ever use anything from the metaverse.
I would never describe you as out of touch.
Oh, well, thank you. That wasn't sarcastic, was it?
No, it wasn't sarcastic.
I don't know. I never got into the VR stuff to begin with. I remember years ago when Samsung had the thing where you could put your phone on it,
right?
You know, and put on the goggles, and it was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I've tried on headsets before, and I'm like, how? Like, it's so confusing to figure out, first of all, and then, like you said, it's so uncomfortable. It's so clunky, and then
it's a very niche thing.
And then,
that's what it is.
And typically, the experience you get using it is very mediocre.
Yeah, I remember thinking that the one thing maybe I would like is watching movies on it. Like if you're in an airplane or something.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanted to watch a movie, you could put on the goggles. But I remember, and I think it's changed, but it was like hard to find stuff. Like you couldn't get like just Hulu or Netflix on it. Maybe you can now, but I don't know. It was never, they really tried to make it a mass thing where most people would want it, and it's still a niche thing. It's still something not a lot of people, I think, want to use. At least that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
So, but I also work for radio.
Right.
So, what do I care about? What do I care about virtual reality? I want you to listen to me. All right. Thanks, Walker. I appreciate it. We'll end the show in a moment with Yaffee Program Rewind. This is the Yaffee Program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
We're back here on the Yaffee program, News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM WVNN. We're also online, WVNN.com. You can catch us on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn Radio app, or any of your smart devices, Siri, Alexa, Google, whatever it is you use. You can catch us there as well. And it's the last segment of the show, so let's do it. We have the Yaffee program Rewind. We started the show talking about the latest in Iran. Apparently, military operations have ramped up in the Strait of Hormuz as President Trump is frustrated with his European allies because they're not really helping us. But we really got to get it open because that's kind of the one thing. If we can get the Strait of Hormuz open, Iran has nothing else. They have nothing else in their playbook against us. This is the one thing that they believe they can use as a leverage. And if we can get rid of that, they have nothing left. I mean, really. So hopefully this works. And I keep telling people it's hard because gas prices being high, it sucks. But the war's been going on for 3 weeks. There are always going to be setbacks in war. There are always going to be sacrifices. There are always going to be struggles. And the fact of the matter is, in terms of relative to history, and I'm not just saying history of the last 1,000 years, I'm saying history of the last 30 years. We have had to sacrifice as a country very, very little to defeat a very, very bad enemy, an evil enemy in Iran. So President Trump commented on this yesterday. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play a Trump cut 1 for me.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you. I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse. Much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
All right, there you go. So he's saying even the problems we've had, he thought it was going to be a lot worse, but it's going to be over soon. And then he also talked about the allies helping him. Play a cut 2 of Trump.
We're defending the strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. We've had tremendous support and relationship with Japan on everything. And I believe that based on statements that were given to us yesterday, the day before yesterday, having to do with Japan, they are really stepping up to the plate.
All right, so we talked a lot about that at the beginning of the show. If you missed it, well, this is the time of the show. I'll remind you, you can get the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Just go to, actually the easiest way, go to WVNN.com. Check it out there. I also post it on my social media, so you want to like the Yaffee Facebook page or follow me on X at Yaffee or Instagram at Yaffee Live. Then we had the Alabama bullet points, the top stories from around the state. One of the stories that I had in the bullet points is in the Alabama House, a bill called the SAVE Act. Different from the Save America Act. This is kind of an Alabama version, but it would basically enforce closed primaries in Alabama. It passed the Alabama House. Not sure if it's going to make it through the Senate, but I had the details of that in the bullet points, and you can check that out, the podcast of that. Then we spoke with Brad Presnell, who is a political consultant. We had the tragic news that Chuck Norris has died at age 86. And it's interesting, though, because Brad used to work for Mike Huckabee's campaign years ago, and he actually got to meet Chuck Norris and told a kind of funny story about that. So we had that when Brad was on. If you missed that interview, the podcast of the interview is up. Then, yes, it'd been a while. I did something that made Yaffee laughy, and if you missed it, the podcast is up. But actually, I kind of want to play it here again because I thought it was pretty good. A friend sent this to me. So go ahead if you can, Walker. Play Next Ayatollah. This was something that made Yaffee laughy.
No one wants to be next Ayatollah. So tired of bombs and living in a hole. We support whoever it be, as long as it's them and not me. I'm not qualified, so go away. Turn off that phone or we will die today. No one wants to be next Ayatollah. Me not qualified, that's what I told ya. Ayatollah title good for resume, but not so if I must die today.
All right, so there you go. I thought that was pretty funny. So if you missed it, the podcast of that's up as well. We had the legendary Will Hampson on that interview. The podcast of that is up. What's trending? Also, appreciate you listening to the show. I was glad to be back. So thanks to Walker for producing as well. And I will be back on Monday. So see you then.
The Yaffee Program.